Bob Dylan's 115th Epiphany. I was sitting in a diner late one Saturday night. The waitress seemed impatient, maybe spoiling for a fight. I just wanted a smile, some scrambled eggs, and some toast. I didn't want no trouble, just some small talk at the most. I felt a bit of sympathy, though I tried to choke it down. I couldn't stop my thoughts from spinning round and round. She finally ambled over and started staring at me. Asked me if I wanted any coffee or tea. I couldn't get my words out because she seemed so awful sad. The way she stooped and mumbled, the expression that she had. She looked at me with longing, and I thought I spied a tear. She whispered to me soft, "Can you help get me out of here?" I would have liked to help her if I'd known what to do, but I pretty much just sat there till my meal was through. Out the window of my booth, I saw a man on the street, looking wasted, kinda loony, and shuffling his feet. I didn't drink my coffee or wait for the bill. I put down $20 on the windowsill. I headed out the door into the gloom and the dark. Damned if I remembered where the hell I parked. The waitress's face was burned so deep in my brain, I didn't even notice it was pouring rain. I saw the shuffling man out the corner of my eye, but pretended not to notice, and just looked up at the sky. I saw the weeping waitress and the shuffling man there, up inside a black cloud, with their arms in the air. I kept a-walking and a-thinking. I walked real far. I gave up any hope of ever finding my car. My life seemed but a joke, and it seemed that joke was a fact. So I lay my weary body on the railroad track. I fell asleep there for a while, but when I finally came to, I remembered no train had run there since 2002. They closed it that year because of all the suicides. On account of all the relatives whose loved ones had died, I could feel them all around me. I could smell their despair. I heard their cries and whispers, though there was nobody there. I stood up real slowly and shook off the dust. I looked down at the train tracks, all rotted with rust. I decided then and there that I would walk back into town, but I didn't see nothing there. I didn't hear a sound. I finally found my car at the break of dawn, with a ticket from a cop who must have come and gone. The shuffling man was nowhere, and the diner was closed. The world seemed strange in ways I could never have supposed. I felt wise, and I felt stupid. I felt giddy, and I felt sad. It was the most confusing feeling I think I've ever had. I never had the urge again to lay down and die. Everything was different, though. I had no idea why. My life was changed forever in ways I'll never understand. By the train tracks, the waitress, and the shuffling man. Bob Dylan's Strange Victory. I took a long walk today through my favorite park. I went when it was sunny. I don't see good in the dark. I sat down for a spell under a big old maple tree, and lo and behold, it started talking to me. Tell me all that you've accomplished, what you still hope to achieve, and all the accolades that you have ever received. It seemed kinda weird for Mother Nature to be hassling me, but I shot right back and said, "You ain't no goddamn Bodhi tree. I don't think about such things. I'm not responsible to you. I ain't listening anymore. I got better things to do. I'm not gonna trouble myself 1 minute about the things that you said. I'm gonna walk myself on over to the playground instead." So I headed to the playground, and I plopped down on a swing. Thought I'd try to clear my head out. Maybe even listen to the birds sing. When this little kid comes over and sits right down next to me, he seemed content to swing and pretty much just let me be. But it soon became apparent that with every swing that I took, he was grumbling to himself and shooting me a dirty look. When I finally got around to slowing down a hair, he suddenly said, "I had no right to even be there. Leave us alone, Grandpa. Let us little kids be. Go try to make yourself some decent sort of legacy. You've wasted your potential. You're a joke of a man. Go do something meaningful if you think you still can. Don't you feel the wind a-whistling 'cause the end is near? You can still make a difference. Now get the hell out of here." He shot off like greased lightning at a sprinter's pace, which was good, 'cause if he'd gone on much more, I would have slapped him in his face. I wondered where that boy had learned to say what he did. I wondered if maybe he wasn't just some snot-nosed kid. Maybe he was an angel, some sort of emissary from God. Though he brought me no comfort and he had no staff or rod. I knew that thought was crazy, that he was just some little brat. I rubbed my eyes and looked once more at the swing where he'd sat. I've been lost to God my entire life. It's unlikely I'd be found now. I decided to go waste some time in town. I pretty much knew just how. I got myself a Coke and started browsing at the dollar store. I had no idea what I wanted, or what the hell I might want it for. I was walking down an aisle and not thinking real clear, when a sour-looking old woman said, "Can I help you, dear? It seems to me you're in need of all the help you can get. Given all your advantages in life, you ain't really done shit yet. You've done nothing for humanity. You've made a mess out of your life." She kept on cutting me into pieces like a Swiss Army knife. I wanted to find her boss and get her nasty ass fired, but my feet just wouldn't carry me. They were suddenly weak and tired. I felt my head getting woozy and my legs start to give out. The last thing I remember was hearing the store manager shout. The next thing I know, I'm staring right up into space, at the nightstick of a cop who was all up in my face. I expected him to help me, 'cause I was feeling dizzy and frail. But the bastard just dragged my ass off to the county jail. It was a travesty of justice that didn't and don't make sense, particularly because he never explained to me the nature of my offense. I'm in solitary confinement now, serving life without parole. It's more than enough to destroy most men, at least to crush their soul, but I don't look at it that way. I consider myself free. I got no trees, no kids, no dime store clerks ragging on me. I made friends with a spider. I've grown accustomed to the stench. It don't matter if he insults me. I don't understand French. I don't frequent the library. I got no books on my shelf. When I'm bored, I just sing Woody Guthrie tunes to myself. There's a lot to be said for living like a brain in a vat. I'm not saying it's for you. I'm just saying that's where I'm at. I don't worry about the future, or what the meaning of life may be. I never get troubled by my conscience, and I sleep like a baby. Bob Dylan's Journey to the Promised Land. One day at the drugstore, I was standing in line, just waiting on my turn. Nothing much on my mind. The fellow standing next to me was looking pretty sad. I felt some sympathy well up inside me and asked him what he had. He said he had terribly painful joints, and that, just for a start, a lifelong battle with an Achilles heel and a badly broken heart. He had problems with his bladder and a badly slipped disc. He spoke really poor English, with a really bad lisp. He stuttered, and he moaned, and then he clutched his side. I was worried that any moment he might just keel over and die. I wanted to excuse myself politely, though I really didn't need to. There wasn't any contract between us that we had previously agreed to, so I sneakily ambled over to the tabloid display. I thought I'd see if there was anything new about the Kardashians that day. Suddenly, a woman who looked a lot like Angelina Jolie walked herself right over and started in talking to me. She had a come-hither look in her eyes and a French braid in her hair. She told me she wasn't wearing any underwear. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that sickly-looking fellow. He started in gasping and moaning, then proceeded to collapse like a bowl of jello. The whole place seemed to go berserk right about then. I was so uptight I tried to slow my breath and count to 10. Meanwhile, everyone around me is just freaking out. I heard an ambulance shriek. I heard a policeman shout. Ms. Jolie picks up a paper. Doesn't even bat an eye. Couldn't seem to care less whether that man lives or he dies. She flashes me a smile, and then she hikes up her skirt, invites me to her car, jokes how nobody's gonna get hurt. Meanwhile, that guy I'd just met on the prescription line, well, they finally gave up trying to take his vital signs. The women all started sobbing. The body started getting cold. As for me, I was pretty much hypnotized. I just did as I was told. I walked out to the parking lot with Angie Jolie. I was feeling kinda dazed, but pretty lucky to be me. Her car seemed kinda sinister. The windows looked damned, near black, but I was quivering with excitement and not about to turn back. Things like this just did not happen, much less happen this fast. Yet there, she was smiling all sexy with her foot on the gas. We sped out of the city on the old Route 17, then swerved onto a country road I'd never ever seen. I stopped looking at the road and started staring at her. She said, "You'll find out where we're going when we get there, sir." She lit a fancy cigarette, didn't say another word. It was outrageously exciting and unbelievably absurd. She pulled up to a mansion deeply weird and dimly lit. It probably should have frightened me, but I no longer gave a shit. She beckoned me to the parlor, shoved me in a parlor chair, sat down on my lap and started playing with her hair. She said, "Would you excuse me while I slip out of these clothes?" I mumbled something, stupid, swallowed hard, and curled my toes. She disappeared behind a door, smiling like the Cheshire Cat, and reappeared in just her stockings, not real long after that. She poured us both a drink, licked her top lip real slow, and asked me if I wanted her, as if she didn't know. I put the liquor to my lips. It had a strange and musky smell. Next thing I knew, I woke up dazed in what seemed like a prison cell. I heard a fellow weeping. Then some others joined in. They started banging on the walls and screaming as if it were a state-run loony bin. I had expected to just get laid with a minimum of hassle. Now, I was a prisoner of a madwoman in some kind of funhouse Bluebeard's castle. I didn't sleep for many nights. I just paced and paced the floor. I never touched the fancy food they slipped under the door. The sobs and moans were constant. They were driving me insane. Sick and lurid counterpoints in a symphony of pain. One day, I saw a big old rat run underneath the rug. I pulled it back, found its hole, and dug and dug and dug. I dug like a raving lunatic until my hands and fingers bled, till I punched through to a passageway and crawled to where it led. There were worms and germs and crawly things, vermin everywhere. Mud oozed through my shoes and through my clothes, while mice ran through my hair. I finally saw an opening. The rats and mice both knew it. They squealed and ran ahead, and then I pushed myself right through it. I threw myself on the ground below, rubbed the filth from my grit-filled eyes. I saw a blood-red sun and a pale white moon hanging low in the dark gray skies. There was ruin and devastation pretty much everywhere. Toxic sludge beneath my feet, and a poisonous stench in the air. I saw a dog-sized rat sniffing at a rusted garbage can. I saw the absence of God amidst the refuse of man. I was clutching my head and dragging my feet. Hadn't had a drink for days and nothing to eat. I finally found some putrid water and was eating a rancid Dorito when there out in the distance, I swear I saw Max von Sydow. He was standing way up high on top of a pile of junk, like it was the goddamned Mount of Olives, and he was some holy-ass monk. He smiled, real gentle, and then he beckoned to me. I was worried it might have been some new scam of Angie Jolie, but I climbed on up there anyway. I had nothing to lose. He offered his hand in friendship. There was no way I could refuse. I never thought I'd see what might have been the true Son of God. On top of a shitload of garbage, standing on a spent plutonium rod, he said, "Look out in the distance at the good Lord's grand creation, past the rubble and the squalor of this godforsaken nation. Can you see through all those storm clouds to where it's green and it's sunny? Walk 6 days towards where I'm pointing, you'll find a land of milk and honey." Whether he was speaking some deep truth or being intentionally absurd, either way, this was the weirdest shit that I had ever heard. I walked down from that junk heap into a valley of despair. I never saw what he saw on account of all the pollution in the air. But come the morning of the 6th day, I finally glimpsed what I'd been after. I felt my pulse start going crazy and my lungs start filling up with laughter. I saw trees and birds and butterflies. I saw contented-looking sheep who were safely grazing. I knew it had to be the Garden of Eden or something equally amazing. I ran the fastest that I could and got there about noon. The sun was shining way up high on a smiling, silvery moon. A little lamb approached me, started nuzzling my head. There was a family of meerkats staring up at me from inside a flower bed. I had the wilderness in the west and the sun in the east. I had my thoughts and my integrity, the birds and the beasts. I slept like a newborn baby and awoke to mist-filled dawns. I spent my mornings picking berries and my afternoons with fawns. I saw the apple tree I expected, with the serpent in its branches. I knew what had to be done. I wasn't taking any chances. I stopped up both my ears with dirt grabbed and shook him by his tail. His eyes grew wide with rage and hate. I knew I dare not fail. I swung him high and wide, then smashed his skull against a stone, till nothing was left but a bloody stump, till I knew I was alone. I cast his body off from me and tied it in a knot. I buried it deep in the cold, hard ground and left it there, to rot. I felt violated and filthy. There was black blood on my hands. But there was one last promise I needed to keep now. I was living in the promised land. I wasn't near to being finished. I wasn't close to being through. Yeah, there was one more pretty monumental thing that was left for me to do. I was the one who would do the deed. No other man would dare to. Put an end to the vicious cycle of the ills and pain that flesh is heir to. I garnered my strength, girded my loins, then took a long, deep breath. And then and there I chopped down the tree of evil human suffering and death.